Oh, yes.
Okay, so hello, Rosie.
Hello, Anne. Nice to speak to you.
Same. It's really great to be here and to be spending this time with you. So I've been looking forward to this conversation. And we're here today to explore the topic of rescue dogs, and in particular, how to introduce a rescue dog into your home. I just also wanted to say, for anyone who's listening who doesn't know Rosie, Rosie is the author of several books on the topic of dog-centered care, including Understanding the Silent Communication of Dogs, and more recently, The Tale of a Big Dog. And that's how we met, isn't it, Rosie?
That's right, we did. Yes, because you helped me with it.
Yes, we worked together on the writing of that book, but this is the first time we've ever recorded an interview together. Yeah, so it was during that time I got the chance to sort of understand your approach to dogs, and it really opened my eyes and my heart, and I would say it changed my relationship completely with my dogs, Max, Jackson and Marla. And I know over the years we've had many conversations, haven't we, over cups of tea and on the phone about dogs, looking at dog behavior from the lens that you bring. So from all of this and from writing with you, I know firsthand just how many dogs' lives you've touched and changed, and how many dogs have benefited from your compassionate approach. And that's really why we're here together today, is to talk about one of those dogs in particular, Halo, who's recently come into your care after you rescued her. And it was actually Halo's journey that led us to think we should do a podcast to really bring it to life, and to hone in on the topic of rescue dogs specifically, and sort of use her story to show how to introduce, or some ideas around introducing, a rescue dog into a new home. So yeah, Rosie, I shall stop talking now. I'll hand over to you. It would be great to hear a little bit about Halo and how she came to live with you.
Okay, thank you, Anne. Thanks for the introduction. And like you, when I learned about this stuff from Sheila Harper, it really opened my eyes as well, and made me see animals in a whole new light. So yeah, it's, I just wish everybody could learn about this, because I feel it's important when you have a dog to look into their lives, see their life from their perspective. Sure. And yeah, when I first met Halo, I was introduced to her by somebody who mends my bike. And he asked me if he thought this dog was pregnant. Well, he'd only had this dog for a week, and her nipples were swollen. And I said, yeah, possibly, or maybe a phantom pregnancy. Anyway, 2 weeks later, she gave birth to 7 puppies. So they hadn't expected that. And they'd bought her from a farmer that lives close to us, actually. And so anyway, she had the puppies, and then the people decided to keep a couple of the puppies and send her back to the farmer. So fast forward a year, she'd had another lot of puppies, and the farmer decided he no longer wanted her. And she killed a couple of chickens as well. And so he just didn't want her any longer. So both homes were very different and had different expectations from a dog. And again, our home is another set of circumstances for Halo to adapt to. But anyway, the farmer wanted to get rid of the dog, and so that's where we came in. I contacted the farmer to ask if I could see her, and he brought her around, and then the rest is history, really.
Yes, she never left.
No, really, because he insisted that he didn't take her back.
Wow.
And I thought, oh no,
Yeah.
what are we going to do? You know,
Yeah.
so it
Here
was
we are with a dog.
quite difficult. Yes, yes.
And what did you start to notice, Rosie, about Halo? I've asked this question to you previously, kind of offline. What were the issues that you noticed? And I think we decided that word wasn't right. You know, what were Halo's issues? But
Right.
what you know, what did you notice about her that she was struggling with?
Yeah, basically people. It was people. She'd had experiences with people where she wasn't understood. It wasn't she wasn't understood from her perspective. It was all about what did the people want from a dog, and not what does the dog want, kind of thing. Or people just don't look at it in that way. It's usually looked at from, you know, what do we want a dog to do?
Yes.
So yeah, that, and often dogs are very much misunderstood. So yeah, she had a complete lack of, she was just very fearful of people, and she was sensitive to the smell of people. She was sensitive to the sound of people and noises in the environment, just everything. She was scared stiff. She was small. I thought what a small collie she was. But she did begin to grow anyway. She was sensitive to sight as well. When she saw things, she just wanted to run away. The same when she heard things, she just wanted to run away. That was what she wanted to do. She was underweight and undernourished as well. They were the physical things. And also she urinated such a lot, and it was very concentrated as well. It smelled. But then later we found out that she didn't drink anything, and she doesn't drink. So I therefore have to add water to 2 of her meals during the day so that she does get some, and that's helped a lot. Anyway, yeah, so really she doesn't have issues as such. It's what we do and what happens in her environment that creates a reaction. And it's up to us to make a dog to feel safe and secure, which we've tried to do. And she's getting there. She still has issues with trust, and that will last. She's 4 years old, so you know it's going to take time. But often when we take pressure off a dog and we understand them, that's when things begin to dissipate. So I'm just trying to understand her, and that's what I do with all of our dogs. So yeah.
Sounds like you know, you've really sort of seen or heard things from her perspective. And you mentioned there, which I wanted to pick up on, you started to look at what you could do to make things easier for her. And I wonder if you could say a little about that, Rosie. What did you put in place really to help her in those early days and going forwards?
Well, at first, she couldn't even make the simplest choices. For example, even going outside to toilet. So I kind of accepted if she didn't want to go outside to toilet, then she didn't have to, but I'd keep offering her those chances to go outside. So, and this wasn't outside on her own. This was outside supported by Colin or I. And so she had a lead on because she didn't know what to do when she got outside either. and that's if she chose to. And sometimes she would choose to walk outside, and sometimes she would choose to just stay in. So we knew we had things to deal with inside if she stayed in.
Yeah.
But we began to realise that it was a smell of people. If she could smell people next door or had gone past, or the postman had been, anything like that, she wouldn't go out. But gradually she decided to go out, and most of the time in the beginning, she just stood there. She didn't know what to do. What do you want me to do? I don't know. You're not telling me what to do. Because she was used to being told what to do and what not to do, and So it was a very slow process for her to build up. And then I couldn't look at her either. Eye contact, would stop her in her tracks. So you kind of had to be nonchalant about it and just act naturally and not engage with her in any way. And then she felt she could do something. But then she'd suddenly go back to, oh, no, I'm doing something. Shouldn't be doing that. So
incredibly stressful for her. But really great that you introduced that element of choice and kind of trusted that would eventually help her.
That's right. Yeah. Because if you imagine, when we have a dog, one that hasn't been treated that well as well, we often think, oh, I'm going to give them everything. I'm going to, like we would a child or a person who had been badly treated, perhaps. Oh, I'm going to make life really nice for them and give them this, that, and the other, and give
everything.
But actually, sorry,
you want to give them everything they never had.
That's it. Yeah. But actually, this has to be done really slowly, because otherwise it's overwhelming for them. And it's like too many things and too many choices. It has to be almost not starting them off as they were, but just introducing everything really, really slowly. And the most important thing for them is to feel safe and secure in their immediate surroundings. And Halo's immediate surroundings started off with the van.
Yes.
Because she wasn't used to living in a house anyway. She was used to living outside.
She chose the van.
She did. That's the only place she would go in. And it was like a bolt hole to her. If she came out, she would come out when nobody was looking. She had a long lead on during the day. At night, that was off. And the doors were closed, but she had a choice to come out. That's how it first started. To come out and use the grass, because a van near the grass, so she could come out and go to the toilet. But she would do it in the van a lot at first, and then I began to realise she was going out of the van to toilet sometimes, but when nobody was looking, because I could see from inside the house. Anyway, then so it started off giving her a small space that she had control over, and that was the van. And she was able to make decisions like that, and I was still offering her the chance to come out with me. Which sometimes she would and sometimes she wouldn't. So anyway, the weather got really hot, and so the van wasn't an option anymore. She had to be in the laundry room,
right?
And now the laundry room has a stairs up to the main living area. So she could go up the stairs if she wanted to, but bearing in mind she hadn't really lived in a house before, so all the noises in the house were really frightening to her. So we had to take great care in what we did, and if we did anything, that we knew was going to be really noisy, then, or we had visitors or something, then she would go back to the van for those times to protect her. And so she she wasn't exposed to too much all at once. So we found that being down in the laundry room, there's a space where the boiler is, and it's right at the back of the house, and she could hide behind there. You couldn't see her or anything. So in a way, that was ideal because she chose to go in there, and for a lot of the time she was there. And then I noticed she'd be at the bottom of the stairs, and then if she saw us, she'd run around the back of the boiler again, which was fine. She was choosing to do that, and we didn't stop her or anything. That was her choice. And over the weeks and the months, she began to come up the stairs to see the other dogs. And then if a person came, she'd be down the bottom of the stairs again. But then she stopped going behind the boiler. She'd just be at the bottom of the stairs. So gradually, she was getting a little bit confident, a little bit more confident. And bearing in mind, I was still offering her the choice to go outside multiple times a day. And sometimes she would and sometimes she wouldn't. But we were getting more sometimes she would rather than sometimes she wouldn't. So we were developing a bond, I suppose, a relationship where no pressure, you can come out if you want, but, you know, you don't have to. So we began to see that she was spending more time at the top of the stairs, lying on the top step by the gate, and the other dogs would go and greet her and she'd greet them, and you know. But my intention was to really look after the dogs that we already had and not give Halo too much attention, which she couldn't cope with anyway. She just needed us to be around and doing what we did without any focus on her, because focus on her, she'd just like melt.
It was too much. Yeah,
that's right. And she'd be flat on the ground and, oh no, we're going to go with that. Ears back, tail between the legs, all of that.
So making herself small again.
That's right. Yeah. And gradually over time, we saw that she could make a few choices. She did start to explore outside while on the long lead, and but then again she'd get caught and think, oh no, I can't deal with that. Quick, let's go back in. So we dashed back in. But you know, gradually she began to blossom, and it was just lovely to see. So
and I guess through doing all of those things on her terms, that blossoming can happen. And I'm really curious about that. Like, what did you notice about her in that blossoming? So you've mentioned that she was small when she came to you. She made herself small. How did you pick up that things were changing for her?
Well, there are lots of things that happened. I think one of the first things I noticed was that she grew taller, because I thought, what a small collie she is. But that's because her body language, her tail was under her ears back. She crawled along the ground, kind of thing. But after a few weeks, when I was thinking of a name for her, I thought of all kinds of names, and we started calling her something, and then I thought, oh no. And then one day I noticed, because we have a little field with a few trees in, and I noticed that she felt relaxed in there, and her tail would come up if I wasn't taking any notice of her. You know, we were just trying to walk along. Her tail would come up, and there's a ring of white around her tail, halfway down the tail. And anyway, I thought, oh, it's like a halo.
Ah,
So that's where her name
oh,
came from.
beautiful.
Um, it was just so nice to see that her tail could come up. She was feeling confident at that moment in time. And it was fleeting at first, but now it's pretty much a thing that she can have her tail up. Yeah, it is so nice to see.
Transformation. Yeah.
So, and her back was straighter.
Mhm.
Um, her ears started to come up as well, but that was the last thing. Her ears,
Okay.
um, they were kind of back and flattish more than they were up, and then suddenly I noticed her ears up too, and now that's more of a normal thing now. This is 7 months later. Uh,
Wow. So it really has been gradual.
oh yeah, so gradual, and she's put on weight.
Mhm.
Um, that surprised me, actually. That's taken several months. I thought within a couple of weeks she'd be okay. She can sleep now and settle somewhere while we're around. Now, she couldn't do that before. She was just up all the time and
On alert.
mithering about kind of thing, "Oh, what shall I do? What shall I do?" And getting or coming close to us and licking us, which doesn't mean she's relaxed. She just doesn't know what to do. So she just lick, and her ears are back when she does that. So she's not happy. And yeah, staying close and licking, she's not happy. She's not confident. She doesn't feel secure at that time. So we kind of managed that a bit for her by kind of taking ourselves off and going somewhere else and closing a gate behind us so that she can see us, but she doesn't have to be involved with us. So, because it can be quite difficult for a dog when we sit down and relax. It's kind of, well, it's static. What are they supposed to do? They can feel quite anxious. So,
They
yeah,
find it stressful when we're still.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, they can do. Quite a few dogs do. That's something that's quite common with a new dog. So yeah, puppies too, not just adult dogs, rescue dogs. So yeah.
So lots there, lots of information coming from observing her, that she went from being quite small and making herself small to opening up her body, being taller and straighter. I guess like we do as humans when we feel more
That's right. Yeah.
full and present in ourselves. But also little things like, the tail and the ears, which are little but big things. They communicate a lot to you when you look, that, or she's telling you that she's happier or more settled.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And if I call her, she comes. So I can tell that she's happier because she wouldn't come before. I don't use food either to coerce her, kind of thing. It's just she just comes, and if she doesn't, she's busy with something, and she'll come when she can. So, and I understand that with dogs, that sometimes they just can't come when we want them to come, and they do come. It's just waiting a few moments until they're ready. It's like if we're busy with something and our partner or whatever, can you come and help me? Well, give us a minute, and then you go. It's the same kind of thing. If you have that relationship, then they will come. They will. It's just going to be in their time.
Rightly so.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. And Kuzu's a funny one, actually. He's always been like this. And I accept it. You call him and he's like, okay, yeah. Yeah, and he just stand where he is. He's stand there because he's also a rescue dog, and he's worried. He was worried about the world and everything, especially people. And he would just stand there and he wouldn't come. And then you give him quite a few minutes, and then he'll come. And that's him. And he's always been like that. But I know he will come. I just need to wait, and
Yes.
that's fine. So, and he's the same in the house and outside the house, except, yeah, he's just, that's him. So, anyway, sorry, go on.
No, I'm glad that you touched on Kuzu, because I wanted to ask when you mentioned earlier about, you know, the other animals and the attention that you were able to give to them because Halo didn't necessarily want the attention on her. And I'm just kind of curious about that interaction between the other animals in the house and what you did to support them through this as well, because of course it's a big change for everyone in the home, isn't it? When especially one that has all of those additional needs like Halo does.
That's right. Well, my initial thought was that Halo had had quite a bad time of it for several years. So whatever I was doing, I was putting her on a road to better things, if you know what I mean. So I wasn't going to force anything on her. So already that was better, in my opinion. And I think hers too, from what she's shown me.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
And so it was really important that I kept in place a good routine, the same routine that the dogs were already used to. That's Pogo, Daisy, and Kuzu. And I wanted everything in place as it had been, because I didn't want them to feel pushed out. Because often when a new dog comes along or a new baby in a house or whatever, the focus is on the new one and not on the existing child or animals in the house. So that was my focus, to keep their routine going as it was, and have those special moments during the day, during every day that we had. So I did do that. I did manage to do that. But there was still disruption because I was doing other things as well. Yes. And I was out with Halo such a lot, or trying to go out, but not for long, but just going out. And sometimes it did take a long time because she wouldn't move. She was like, oh, no, can't move now. I don't know what to do. I'm staying here. So she'd just stay put somewhere. So obviously that took longer for her to decide, am I coming? Am I going? What am I doing? You know. So that was hard for the dogs. That was hard for them. So when I'd taken Halo out, I made sure that I would take the others just for a little potter down the lane or in the field or something, so that they were getting something. So they were actually getting more than they had before. And yeah, it was quite a thing.
I'm hearing that, and I guess I wanted to sort of acknowledge that a little bit, that it's, you know, that's a lot for you, Rosie, and I wonder how you yourself felt in all of this.
Well, it was exhausting, actually. Colin was trying to help as well, but Halo was very fearful of men, so that was very difficult. We did try and go out together. That would work, but she was better if I was on my own. So anyway, we've muddled through, but it was difficult. And yes, I was exhausted. And Pogo felt it quite a lot, although she really liked Halo as well. She likes collies, always has done. She always likes collies. She was from Border Collie Trust. So, you know, so there was no issue with her liking Halo, but she felt out of sorts, and I felt bad for bringing Halo into the group that we had. However, I could see that it was positive as well.
Yeah.
You know, and we just had to work through these few weeks and months. And within, I think, after the first 3 months, things began to get easier, more fluid. And yeah, and I didn't need to take Halo out quite so many times. She could then go out on her own into the garden. I'd stand out there with her, but I didn't have to walk up and down the lane or go into the field with her. So the other dogs were feeling a bit more, bit better, I guess. So, and then they could go out with her as well. That was the other thing. They could go out with her, and yeah, we could all be in the garden together. So
yeah, over time, there's sort of less need for you to be on your own with each individual dog.
Right. Yeah.
Kind of less emotional and sort of physical labor for you.
Yeah. However, I am on my own with each individual dog. I will still have that during every day. And I walk them all separately because they all have different needs. And even though I started walking Halo and Pogo together, because Pogo told me, I want to come. Okay, then you can come. And we went at Pogo's pace, which is slow. She's older. She's an older dog. She's at 12 or 13. And so we went at her pace. Which sometimes would speed up. And then I thought, well, I'm looking at this. I don't want to push Pogo either. I have to look at her needs. So she still has her individual walks. And I don't always listen to her when she wants to come, because sometimes I think she could be overdoing it. And just because I'm going out with Halo. So, you know, I do have to treat them individually and look at the communication and how Pogo is, and make a decision on that as well. So, yeah. So occasionally Pogo will come, but not every time. And yeah.
I think all of this is so important. And you know, for the people that are listening as well, that, you know, the exhaustion that you've spoken about, but then also the need to be with each individual dog. So if, you know, if there are people listening to this who are considering taking on a rescue dog, I feel like we're sort of beginning to introduce like the flavor of what that might be like, you know, to have a dog with additional needs in the home, and how they might interact with other dogs, and what that person might need to do to make all of that work. And I just wonder if you could say a little bit more about that, Rosie, about why it's so important to sort of carefully consider taking on a rescue dog, given everything that we're discussing.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. It's important to carefully consider taking on any dog, really, because all dogs were puppies, someone's puppy once. So I really think that dogs aren't always taken seriously, and that's why there are rescue dogs. People's expectations of dogs in general are too high. And puppies are hard work, as well as rescue dogs being hard work. You know, some dogs are easy, of course, you know, easier than others. Some dogs are more difficult. But yeah, it's quite similar to adopting a child. Really.
Yeah.
It's a surprise, and some dogs will have trauma from their past lives. Quite, yeah. You know? things have happened and they've been misunderstood. There's been a miscommunication between the owner and the dog. Not always. Some dogs end up in rescue because their owners died, or you know, circumstances change.
And
So
even that's a trauma, isn't it? You know.
yes, of course it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a trauma for the dog to end up in rescue. They don't know. They don't know why they're there.
No.
And rescue is a noisy place with all kinds of smells of dogs that are distressed, and yeah,
Very frightening.
yeah,
Yeah.
it is definitely. So
And I really like the phrase, you know, I don't like the phrase necessarily, but I like that you're bringing it to our consciousness that we expect too much from dogs, because we do. And that this was covered in your book, wasn't it? The Tale of a Big Dog, around how we expect them to, you know, fit into our lives and come to busy pubs or town centres with us, you know, things that maybe they enjoy, but maybe they really, really don't. And I guess that only scratches the surface of the kinds of things that we expect.
That's right. I think society in general, and especially now with more and more restrictions because of incidents with dogs, and you know, we do expect them to behave better than children, really. Children can get away with things, but dogs can't. And I read something today that some dog had barked at another, and the person was given abuse because their dog barked. You know, dogs bark for a reason. Yeah, and there'll be a reason why. And in this case, it seems as though the dog was fearful because something was too close. And this is something we get wrong quite a lot. Putting our dogs into difficult situations that they're so close to something, or socializing them, they're too close. They need lots of distance to feel comfortable in the beginning. And having things too close is just creating problems for them and creating fear in them. And when they're at a distance, they're able to communicate effectively.
Yeah. So lots of
sorry, go on.
I was just thinking, you know, to give them lots of space, I think is what I'm hearing, to stand back and let them. Yeah,
that's right. As you know, when you introduce a dog, you want to give them time and that space to develop, not to rush them into everything, because that's when you'll get problems. We expect them to do too many things and be involved in many human things and get on with all the dogs and animals in the world, and it's just too much. It's overwhelming, really. So
So there's some sort of key themes like coming through. I think there's that, you know, giving them time, especially at the beginning, going at their own pace and sort of introducing choice, if that's not something they've had before. And then also, you know, this more important thing around not expecting too much of them, almost having no expectations, if that's even possible, but at the beginning, to really kind of let go of those expectations of what a dog should be. And I'm wondering, Rosie, is there anything else that you feel is really key, you know, for someone who's considering rehoming a dog or even taking on a puppy, as you say, like things in those first few months or even days that really can help them in that transition?
Well, before having a dog, learn about the dog's language, how they communicate with one another and the world. And the most important thing for the dog is a need to feel safe and secure in their immediate surroundings. So that will mean time for them to be in that place and get used to that for quite a while before extending their environment and opening up to the wider world. And it's not always about expanding as well. It's coming back to that safe place for long enough for them to feel safe and secure before extending it again. And just take loads of time. It's better to take time than to rush them out into the world, and and also using things like long leads can offer a dog security, but they can have a choice on that long lead to go and explore a bit, and with the connection of you being there with them. Also using gates and barriers, but introduce slowly, and so the dog can deal with it, because at first some dogs can't cope with that. They need to feel the company of somebody there. So yeah, and introductions to people, other dogs, traffic and so forth can wait, and it's always best to start from a distance where the dog can feel comfortable, and so that they can use their language and communication signals. I would also say an important thing that we did with Halo was to accompany a new dog outside in the garden at all times, just being there, and start with a lead on a long line so they can have space from you to do what they need to do and follow them around, so, and kind of go with them, rather than leaving them to their own devices, because often what can happen is the dog can go outside, shut outside, go and do your business kind of thing, and then you let them in and they come and defecate or urinate in the house because they felt so scared in the garden what's happening around that they only feel safe to do it in the house. So that's why it's important to support them outside, because you don't know what their experiences are like from the past. So
it's really useful to see it from that perspective, because I can imagine if that happened and a dog came in and did that in the house, it would be perceived by the humans as kind of naughty behavior rather than coming from fear. If we don't know, if we don't go and stand outside with them and sort of observe what's happening in their world, it can, like you said earlier, be completely misunderstood.
That's right.
Yeah,
most definitely. Yeah, and it is a common thing, and it is irritating as well. I mean, it's not easy when the dog
not angels
makes a mess in the house, But if we hone in on it, we're making a whole load of problems for ourselves. It's best to just get on and clean it up,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah. So otherwise we can make the dog feel more anxious, and then they'll do it when you're not looking and things like that, So it's best to just go with what you've got and support them outside, support them in all areas, the same as when walking them, have them on the long lead so that they can get used to the local park or wherever they're being walked, so that they can get used to it slowly and in their own time. And also, if they want to come back, go with them, support them, go back. Okay, you can't do that today. We all have off days. We all have days where we feel different to another day. And maybe that day they just can't do that. So,
That's it, isn't it? I guess what I'm hearing is like be in that role of support, caregiver, in I guess the way you would do with a child. You're there to sort of facilitate their exploration and their learning, but if they want to go home or aren't comfortable, then yes, of course, we'll go back, whatever you need, which builds trust and hopefully starts to create that settled, safe nervous system that we're hoping for.
That's right. Yeah, most definitely. And yeah, with the other dogs, that's an important thing to say, that I didn't just let Halo out with the other dogs because she hadn't got the skills to be with them. She was quite puppyish and bouncy and running around, because she didn't know how to be around them. And although she'd been with other dogs, it was a very different setting. This was in the house. And so at first it happened that she escaped, actually. She escaped and she came to the door where the other dogs come in, because she had a different door to go in to the other dogs, because I kept them separately. They had their own areas, own garden areas, only their own space in the house. So she came to the other door where the dogs came in. So I let her in that door. And so she was in with the other dogs for about a minute or two. The other dogs were nicely relaxed, because they usually are chilling out in a house. And so she came in and kind of did a whirlwind around. And then I went with her down to the laundry room. And I pottered about down in the laundry room. So I didn't just shut her out. I was with her in the laundry room before I came back upstairs again. And so we had quite a few moments like that. And because that mistake had worked, we introduced that into our day. And so there'd be a few times during the day. At first, it happened on one day, and then a few days later, it happened again. And then another day, there might be a couple of times where she was up in the main living area for a moment or two, and then we'd go back down again. And then I'd take her out for a wee, because often a dog will feel anxious when something new has happened, so she'd need to have a wee again. So it was lots of going out for a wee, because new things were happening that she wasn't used to. But it was important for the other dogs that it was a really, really slow introduction, and that's why it worked so well. There haven't been, there haven't been any one incident of any bad interactions with them. It's all been plain sailing. So, and I do think that because she had been with other dogs on the farm, that had helped. But she does lack skills at the moment still. But we're getting there. She can't regulate her emotions, and she's learning to. But she's on and off very quickly, more on than off, if you know what I mean. She builds up very quickly to be excited, and
yes. Whereas the other dogs have had longer with you, and like you say, they're more chilled in their day.
Yeah, they're settled, and that's right. They have experience, don't they? They have a lot of experience. So
Rosie, I'm aware we're almost at time, and I could talk with you forever. It's so interesting. I think we've brought up some really interesting themes, and I hope interesting for the listeners as well. So I just wanted to say thank you for having the conversation. And there's so much more that we could say. I think this is such a huge topic, but it would be great if anyone out there listening, if there's any feedback, or if there's any topics that anybody would like us to discuss in future episodes as well, because I hope that we can make this podcast a regular thing. And between us, we've thought of some ideas, you know, about how to make walks with dogs a really enriching experience. Things around food and meal times, taking care of dogs during vet visits. There's a lot that we could do. Well, please, we're all, you know, if anyone has any suggestions. I mean, I'm wondering, should they email you, Rosie? Would you like to give your email address?
Yes, that would be great. Yes. That's laidbackdogs@gmail.com, and that's LAID back BACK dogs@gmail.com.
Perfect. And of course, if you want to find out more about Rosie and her books and her work, then you've also got a website, Rosie, haven't you? Which
That's
is
right. Yes.
laidbackdogs.com.
Yeah, easy.
Oh, perfect. Well, thanks again, Rosie.
Thank you, Anne. And I really value your human understanding on it, because it runs in parallel with dogs, of course.
Sure.
So thank you. Thanks, Anne.
And thanks everyone who listened. Hopefully we'll be back soon.
Bye.
Bye, Rosie.
Bye.